right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this nice-looking Monday morning. Yesterday was Sunday, and I was at the laundromat, and I was reading this book. It's called All I Ever Wanted to Be Was a Cowboy by Bill Roberts. And Bill Roberts is in the studio. Not only has he told me some great stories in the form of writing, he's in the studio, but he's also a magnificent artist. And I would love to see some of the paintings that illustrate this book in full color in the book there in black and white. And Bill is a cowboy from Florida. He works with cattle. He has worked with cattle in 25 counties. Wait till you hear some of these stories, by the way. And he's with us to talk to us about his life and the memoir that documents his life. I think it's too small, though. I think there's a lot more to tell. Good morning, Bill. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So I was, was your ear burning yesterday as I was reading your words? I mean, could you tell, spiritually that somebody was checking you out?
Well, I hope I wasn't being checked too close.
Do you know, I had an experience when I was in 1972. So this goes way, way back. I was 17 years old. And the first job, I moved from Long Island, New York. So you already get an idea that I was a city kid, okay? Good. And moved to Rainbow Lakes Estates near Denellen, and they had Rainbow Springs at that time, had a rodeo there. Well, I got this job there filling the vending machines, the sodas and the snacks. And when I'd fill up the vending machine at the rodeo in Rainbow Springs, they saw this big Yankee. and here these cowboys said, "Hey, have you ever bulldogged a cow or a steer? Have you ever bulldogged the steer?" I said, "I don't even know what that is." And they laughed, and they wanted me to bulldog a steer. So I said, "Well, show me how it's done." And basically, if you don't know what it is, it's pulling it down to the ground, right? So I said, "No, thank you. I won't do this."
Oh, you didn't do it?
No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. They made fun of me, but I didn't do it. And I'm reading your book yesterday, and I'm reminded of this story. I don't even think I've ever shared this story with you.
No, you have not.
Yeah. But I had great respect for them. I mean, to watch what they did and to read what you did, and especially as a young boy, how you learned the skills that you learned, and it was just a joy. Well, thank you for coming in to talk to us about this. I'm doing all the talking though.
Well, I think it's a lot of it's just desire. I mean, I think my mama probably ruined me. She bought me a little cowboy outfit when I was 3 years old, and a woolly vest, a pair of chaps, and 2 pearl-handled 6-shooters. Well, I'm thinking, if that's the cowboy life, that's kind of the way to go. There ain't nobody going to mess with you if you're carrying 2
6-shooters.
Right. Thank you. That's exactly the way it still is.
Actually, I think I probably decided about that time that would be the life for me, But then there's a lot of extra rigmarole that goes along with that. I mean, in first place, my daddy was always. I told my daddy that I thought I'd like to be a cowboy. He said, "Well, son, you got to get out and get a real job,
What was his job?
Well, he was a farmer.
Okay.
And I knew I didn't want to be a farmer.
And you helped him.
Oh yeah,
with the farm work, yeah.
And they had cattle too. The ranch had cattle. It was owned by a big operator that we had thousands of acres of produce and pastures. The first ranch, you probably may have read that part of it, but the first ranch that I got a paying job on was a 36,000 acre ranch. And there was a Seminole Indian living on the ranch. That's how it was in the Everglades, it was on Lake Okeechobee. And probably a third of it went out in the sawgrass into the Everglades. And my dad took a crew from the farm and built the fence around it. It was 44 miles around it. That's how big a place it was.
My goodness, 44 miles of fence.
Yeah, 44 miles.
Wow.
And they cut their own post out of the cypress.
And you were the one who helped build it?
Yeah, well, no, what I wanted to do is they were just getting in the cattle business, and I was 13 years old, and I'd put into my dad to get me a job, with the regular cattlemen. And he told me that he didn't think I'd last very long at it, and I think the reason he got me the job was just mainly so I'd make up my mind to be something else besides a cowboy.
Did it almost change your mind?
No.
No, not at all.
All it done was made me more determined.
It just made you more determined.
And my job really was basically just to carry the medicine. We were at that time we had an outbreak of screwworms. It was what they call screwworms. A fly lands in a wound, and then will gradually kill a cow.
Do we call them maggots? Is this the
They're
same?
maggot.
Maggot
Yeah,
is a
they're
screwworm.
maggots.
Okay.
But they're called screwworms. And Florida was infested with them. And the University of Florida, the best thing that I really know they ever done, I mean, although I love the University of Florida, mainly because they have a good football team.
That's right, go Gators.
They give us Heisens, they give us love bugs, they give us Kogan guys, but they eradicate the screwworms.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do nothing else.
But we still have flies.
Yeah, what they done was they sterilized the male fly, and the female has a short gestation period, and they put these little castrated male flies all over the place.
Wow.
And that's how they eradicate them.
A castrated male fly.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
and the cow went. Don't ask me how they done it. But the female fly goes through just one cycle. The screwworm fly goes through one cycle, and that's it. That's it for her. But other flies have mosquitoes. They live forever, evidently.
Tell the listener. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
And you had to bunk with those guys too.
Yeah, they had a
Then
bunkhouse.
that must have been a concern about your dad.
I was in 2, 3, 4 bunkhouses. Some of the outfits I had, I worked on the 100 section place, and that's 100 square miles. 100 sections is 100 square miles.
Wow.
So that was the biggest place I worked on, but there was bigger places. There's the largest cow-calf operation in the world is down at Deer Park. It belongs to the Mormon Ranch, and I'm pretty sure maybe in the United States, but I think it's the largest cow-calf operation in the world.
Wow.
Did you? Can you tell the story of the first cow that you roped? Do you tell it in the book? The first cow.
The one I roped on foot.
Yeah, the one you were hiding in the bushes?
Yeah. Okay. You want me to read that to you?
No.
I don't know whether
You can read it if you want, but you could just tell it.
Yeah, but see, I forget a lot of the details.
Okay.
If I tell something. Yeah, let me see. I don't want to leave anything out.
No, you don't want to leave anything out.
I think I'd already picked it out here as one of the stories.
Well, it sounded like it was harder to let the cow go than it was to get him.
Yeah.
Well, that never dawned on me till
I would never know that. So these guys who wanted me to bulldog a steer, I would have.
Yeah, you would.
I would have been in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
aren't you worried about the horns getting you? And
yeah, you got to be careful with the horns. And if you notice the story that I had about where the cow come in the cab with us,
yes,
having the 2 dogs in the cab.
Yes.
And of course, the first thing was the explosion of that glass flying, and then the next thing is you realize there's a cow that's got bad horns in the cabin with you, in the cab of the truck, and then the only thing you can think about is it's too dadgum crowded in here for 4 of us.
Right.
Of course, the dogs caught her. As soon as she got in there, they caught her.
Oh, yeah.
Do you warm up to the cows? I mean, do they become your friends or your pets or no?
It would probably be great to have a Brahma bull for a pet. You could intimidate a lot of people with it. Especially if you could ride him,
Yeah, I think so.
Reminds me of that Mongo in that one movie when he comes riding up on that Brahma bull.
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles, oh my God.
Yeah, Mr. Mongo.
Bill Roberts is with us. He has written a book. It's really a delightful book. You're going to love this one. It's called All I Ever Wanted to Be Was a Cowboy. It's his memoir. It's in Florida. The whole book is in Florida, right? Right?
Yeah.
I understood that, right? There's a story you tell, and we have to take a little break, but if we could retell it, it sounded like there was a guy you didn't really like, and he wanted to help you. So he came on with a Model T, and he drove into the canal.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll tell that story when we come back.
Yeah.
This is The Source, WOCA. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Intervals of clouds and sun today with a shower in spots along the coast, the high 81 to 85. And tonight will turn out mainly clear with lows ranging from the mid-60s inland to about 73 along the coast. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun, just a chance of a shower along the coast, high 82 to 86. On Wednesday, times of clouds and sun with a shower or two around, high 84 to 88. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
On this episode of What Not to Do, brought to you by
Mike Scott Plumbing. If water runs through it, we do it.
I thought I told you to call Mike Scott Plumbing to get this leak fixed.
I did call the plumbers. They were just here.
Let me get this straight. You're telling me Mike Scott Plumbing was just here?
Well, not exactly.
Well, then who exactly was here?
You know, the other plumbers. They were having a sale.
Is that why there's duct tape on my toilet?
Wait, I don't see any that duct tape. Well, at least it matches the grout color.
There's a reason we only call Mike Scott Plumbing. They're on time, every time. They don't charge extra for nights, weekends, or holidays. And most importantly, and I need you to pay attention on this part, they actually fix it.
Okay, so you want me to try to fix it?
Yes, I do. By calling Mike Scott Plumbing, like you should have done in the first place.
Yes, dear. What's the number again?
You really should know this by heart. 866-314-4443.
Got it. 866-314-4443.
on next week's episode of What Not to Do.
Seriously? A helicopter?
Do something different, something creative, something live this Christmas, and the place to start is Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, where everything holiday is in bloom and waiting for you. Poinsettias? Bob has more than anyone in every price range from $3 for $9.99 up to and including giant displays that'll absolutely knock your eyes out. Christmas cactus, yes, there are hundreds of them, starting at $3.99. And those gorgeous living potted Arizona blue cypress Christmas trees, you'll love them for years to come. They're just $79.99. How about a gift camellia? And if it's from Bob Wines, you know it's a classic. Bob has them starting at just $14.99. Everything living for Christmas, large and small, is here right now at Bob Wines Camellia Gardens in Ocala, Southeast 38th Street. Get there early for the best selection, daily till 4, Saturdays till 2. This year, we're calling ourselves Bob Wines Christmas Camellia Garden.
All right, Bill Roberts is in the studio. He is the author of All I Ever Wanted to Be Was a Cowboy. It's his memoir, and I mentioned at the beginning that I was reading it yesterday in the laundromat, and I kind of got distracted, so I didn't know that the dryer was done. So everything is in Florida, not just Florida, but around here. We call it the Ocala National Forest. You called it the Big Scrub, right?
Big Scrub, yeah. It was the Big Scrub before it was the Ocala National Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, my great-grandfather come there. Let's see, it was Florida was territory. 1843.
Wow, that's amazing. So now Robin had a question about the Holly name, because she has some friends named Holly.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't know if they're related or not,
Yeah.
right?
My great-grandfather married a Holly. And also, I think we're related to the Hollies in two different directions. But out there in the forest, most of the people were just kind of pioneers and settlers, and most of the way that they found their spouse was through a church. Church over here, church over there, and they gathered together, and it was more or less, if somebody started going with somebody, then being the net in church, it made it sound a little better than the bar. You know.
Oh yeah.
So
it did.
anyway, that's where most of the people got hooked up in those days, out in the scrub. And the funny thing about the scrub, it seemed like that the river was kind of like a railroad track, was kind of divided the white trash from the rest of the people. there was a lot of feeling, and it's still prevalent. I mean, if somebody asked me right now, if I was in Walmart, they said, "Well, where are you from?" I said, "I'm at Scrub, Oregon." And they walk off, you know. And
Why? I don't understand that.
Well, I don't know.
Does it have a connotation to it?
Yeah, well, most of them are moonshiners, you know, and stuff like that. But the people in town were drinking it.
But there was a moonshine story in the book too.
Yeah, that was a good story.
Or a moonshine reference, anyway, right?
Oh yeah.
Was that good? I never had that. Was that good?
The moonshine?
Yeah. Or was it really toxic?
Well, yeah, if you got the good shine, yeah, it was. But it could make you go blind if you got bad shine.
Oh yeah. What was that made out of?
And a lot of times make you feel like you were 10 foot tall and get into a lot of trouble. That happened a lot too. But you know, cowboys. See, we had to live up to a certain standard. That was one thing, and you had to act like a cowboy. You know, if you were a cowboy, and we always looked down on what we call Rexall Rangers. Rexall Rangers were the drugstore type cowboys. They were the ones that come out there on the weekend warriors and cows. You know, we had to go catch them. You know, but you know, if you read some of the stories and you got that feeling, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did. I got the feeling
so.
that you were kind of hot with the women too.
Well, yeah,
He's
up
a
to
cowboy.
a point.
A real cowboy.
But cowboys didn't make much money.
You stood tall, yeah, but they didn't know that. You could. I mean, you had a horse. You were tall.
Oh yeah.
You had a cowboy hat.
Take them horseback riding.
Yeah.
Do you still ride? Do you still ride a horse?
My last horse I got on, I actually painted a picture of it, and it's somewhere. I don't know where it's at now. It's not in this book, I don't think.
So you're an artist. You told Robin you've paid how many? 35,000.
3,500.
3,500
Yeah, I'm
paintings.
not quite that prolific, but
3,500. I'm sorry, but that's still a lot. 3,500.
And they're all
a lot.
over the United States. You said you're
yeah,
painting.
they're in England and France and everywhere else. They're not in the Louvre, of course, but I did paint one. I painted 2 or 3 from a German boy that come because I had him over there in Cedar Key. You know, I guided over there. When I quit cowboy now, 30 years I guided in Cedar Key.
You were
Fishing guide.
2 years in the Navy. Is that right?
Yeah, just 2 years. 2 years.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
But that was the only gap in your life where you weren't a cowboy.
Do what?
That was the only time in your life when you were not a cowboy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't mean to interrupt earlier when I asked you to tell the story about the first cow that you got with the rope.
Yeah. Well, let me. I can ad-lib it, but let me see if it would sound better if I read it. And I'm trying to. And there's one story I need to touch on just a little bit is about the cement Cadillac, because that was actually a true story. I mean, well, all of them are. I mean,
Yeah.
Don't get technical here.
Yeah, but it's so fascinating. Such a wonderful, wonderful life you led, and you were not only mentored by the cowboys that you were growing up around, but you yourself became a mentor to
Yeah,
the
I
younger
did.
generation.
I had a young boy working for me, and I'd done 2 years in the Navy. I got in on the kiddie cruise, and he was getting ready to sign up. I don't know, there was one war after another, you know. Mine was the Korean War, his was the Vietnam War. So I told him, I said, well, sign up for the kiddie cruise. And he said, what's that? 2 years. I don't want to do that. I want to go in. I want to be there 4 years. Well, when he come back out, he said, I wish the hell out of there. Listen to what you said. But I went in for 2 years. But while I was there, why, you know, it wasn't a cakewalk. I was stationed in Key West, and we were in a experimental HS-1 helicopter squadron. And our main thing was to try to see how much a man could take. You know,
Really?
Just shut the engine off 20, 30 feet up in the air and see how many bones would bust when you hit the deck.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You turned the engine off 30
we were
feet up?
crippling up pilots and crippling up crew members and everything else. But the idea was to figure out what you could take and what you could do to, you know, the seat would have better shocks and that sort of stuff. We were experimenting. They were experimenting with us. And it wasn't really all that safe. We had 13 men killed in 5 seconds. And you're, whenever you're, even though you're not in the war zone, basically training, in other words, you can get killed.
Right.
This is easy. And what happened, 2 helicopters side slipped together right over and killed 13 men. And our we didn't have but 40 men to start with. So it narrowed our crew down. We had to wait. We got some more help.
So I'm remembering another story now. Earlier this morning, we were talking to my mechanic. He does a show here, and I was trying to tell him the story about the guy you didn't like, who had
the one that run
Model T, drove it into the water.
Yeah, it wasn't we didn't like him. He just anybody run the Model T after he'd already warned him. Just a little on the street, but he jumped off of a water tower one time and thought he could fly. So that's the kind of guy he was.
Okay.
So he was kind of like Porter Wing in the Yearling. But anyway, yeah. Well, did you want to know more of the details?
Well, you had to pull. Well, part of your job was to pull cows out of the water.
Yeah.
So
we had a muck farm, which when you're farming in the muck, you got ditches everywhere. But when you're buying cattle, what you're doing is buying cattle up from a real bad, sorry pasture way up in the sand.
Right.
And you bring them down, put them on that muck, and you can put 12 head to the acre on muck, where it takes 12 acres up there. It takes 12 acres to a cow. Well, you can put 12 cows on an acre of muck, and so we bring them down there and fatten them out. But they didn't know anything about canals. So
the cows didn't.
Cows didn't know it. They were yearlings. Okay. They were 2-year-olds.
Once they fell in a canal, would they stay away from the canal?
No, they didn't learn nothing.
Oh, wow.
They didn't learn nothing. After you pulled them out, and
so how do you know the part I didn't understand? I didn't understand how dogs train cows to respect them. Explain that. Maybe I just...
There is a special dog that has been in Florida for over 100 years, and they've been, once a cattleman... See, one thing a cowboy can't do, he cannot not brag on his dog or his horse or his kid, but the dog mainly. So the word gets around that so-and-so's got a dog that's supposed to be the best dog in the world, and so-and-so's got a gyp, which is a female, way up the road. I went 100 miles, and some of the other guys have gone more than that to get that right combination, because you can't keep breeding back into your own dogs.
Right.
And, they'll inbreed on you. So we would go anywhere it took. I remember one time I left Marion County and went all the way to St. Cloud in the dark, bought a dog with a friend of mine, Theo John. You'll see him in there. He's a happy Indian. And the bad thing about it was, being dark, we didn't know it till we got back, the dog was blind in one eye.
Oh.
And we don't know whether that boy sold us that dog in the dark or whether he just made a mistake. But I think Theo called him up and was complaining about the dog, the one-eyed dog that he'd give $100 for. And the guy said, well, yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. And but he's a good dog. And by then, Theo done tried him out, and he decided that that dog with one eye was better than some of his dogs that he had with two eyes. So anyway, he kept him.
There's so much more in the book, but we only have about a minute left to go. Bill, it went too quick. I really enjoyed spending this time with you. Is the book for sale? Can we tell our listeners where to go buy it?
Oh yeah, they're for sale. How do you
buy it?
All your paintings.
It's $17 roughly. If they send me $20, I'll send them a book. I'll send, I guess, 1,000 or so out.
So you're just selling them? They're not in the stores, or?
Yeah. All them outfits has got them.
Amazon.
Oh,
okay. It's on Amazon.
Barnes and Noble and all that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had people get them from different.
Do you want to give out your information, your phone number, your address, or anything?
I brought the cards. Here's a card. There's not much you can do with that, I don't guess, other than.
But do you want us to read it on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, so your phone number. You want me to tell you your phone number?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 352-543-5690. And I guess you would call Bill and say, hey, I heard you on the radio. I'd love to buy one of your books. It's called All I Ever Wanted to Be Was a Cowboy. Bill, thank you so much for being in the studio. There's a song in my head, and I'll tell you the words. It says, I could have been most anything I put my mind to be, but a cowboy's life was the only life for me.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
A little complicated for my book.
I love your writing style, by the way. You have a very warm way of writing.
Well, I always had like a sense of humor. I always felt, if you'll notice, some of my stories were just, if there's something in there that sounds a little dangerous, I generally try to modify it a little bit.
Okay.
The time I almost drowned my boy there wasn't nothing funny about that.
No.
But then it was all over with, and I found out that I'd actually bent the steering wheel without knowing it.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
a steel steering
Bill,
wheel.
we've run out
pulled
of time.
it this way.
Thank you
The
so
only
much.
thing I had to hold on to, I was on.
Fox News Radio, I'm Carol McHugh. President Obama says the U.S. and France have struck a new intelligence agreement in response to Friday's ISIS attacks.
We're streamlining the process by which we share intelligence and operational military information with France. This will allow our personnel to pass threat information, including on ISIL, to our French partners even more quickly and more often.
The president also